Good afternoon. Welcome everyone attending this public forum of Kempsey Shire Council. It's the 16th of May 2022. All members of the Kempsey Shire community are entitled to attend public forums to observe. I remind all people attending this meeting that it is being webcast on YouTube with audio and vision. A recording of this forum is available on the internet and is required to be available for 12 months. Private recordings of the forum should not occur. Only members of the media are allowed to make a recording. Please ensure all devices, like mobile phones, are on silent mode. Thank you. Member of the public gallery is fixing that problem now for the people out there. Acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the Dunghutti people of our Shire as the traditional custodians and their continued connection to land, water and culture. We pay our respects to elders, past, present and emerging. I now ask councillors, are there any councillors who would like to declare a conflict of interest?
Yes, can you hear me?
Councillor Bain?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I would like to declare that I have a significant non-pecuniary interest in the matter of the Oven Mountain Pump Storage Proprietary Limited, as I'm the CEO of a land council who is in commercial negotiation with the proponent. I propose to manage that by leaving the meeting until the public forum has been presented and any discussion is made, and then if you could please ring me and I'll hook back in. Is that correct procedure?
Thank you,
Mayor?
That's correct, Councillor Bain. We will telephone you when the public forum has ended. Or text
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Bain.
Thank you very much. Okay. I'll leave now. Right.
Thank you. Are there any other conflicts? So on behalf of Council, I welcome all people in the public gallery and observing online to our meeting today. Councillors in attendance are Councillor Campbell, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Freeman and Councillor Wyatt. We have apologies from Councillors Riddington and Craigie. Council staff in attendance are Director Robert Fish, in charge of Operations and Planning, Director Stephen Mitchell, Corporate and Commercial. On my right, your left, our General Manager, Mr. Craig Milburn. On his right and my right, the Manager of Governance, Daniel Thorogood. And in the gallery, Manager of Planning, Graham Snow. Thank you all for being here. I'd now ask the General Manager to outline the guidelines for today's public forum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The guidelines required for the public forum is the Speaker is entitled to 5 minutes. That is strictly adhered to. The councillors may ask questions and the Speaker has up to 1 minute to actually respond to those questions. They have the ability to not reply to those questions if they so choose. The speakers cannot ask questions of the councillors or the staff during this time. Speakers should remain on topic throughout their presentation and not use any derogatory language. If that occurs, the chair can ask for an apology and also ask the speaker to sit down. And I'm sure with Mr. Halliday today that will not be an issue.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Our one public forum speaker today is Mr. Paul Haler. He will be speaking on item 9.6 of the agenda, Oven Mountain Pumped Hydro Energy Storage Project. Mr. Haler, would you like to come forward? Thank you.
Can those guys see that? Can those guys? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I do understand that the level of government that we're at here excludes local council of much input on this project other than roads, water, as detailed in Mr Fisher's report dated the 15th of February 2021 to Energy Assessments, Planning and Assessments. Whether that fully takes into account the original responsibility of the area and land is a political football. I do understand that this is private property and therefore limited moral decisions can be made. My interest, it's simply just a registration that I disapprove of this project on the basis of principle, just principle. The main principle being Chinese investment in infrastructure and then all other negative outcomes, which I will go through. But the elephant in the room is that this is Dungutty and Thumgutty land. Wearing Aboriginal art shirts, attending smoking ceremonies and not admitting domestic violence is a big Indigenous problem in some areas as it is with white people. This may not be politically correct. This is crucial to the European justification to exploit another wilderness, some tokens of understanding by wearing a shirt. Moving on, in Mr Fisher's letter to New South Wales Planning, the least two lines in writing is under the heading of heritage, which quotes, "A comprehensive understanding of Aboriginal heritage in relation to the subject site and any associated impacts is essential." There was 2 lines, and it was the least lines. The other headings were water, transport, amenity, let's not inconvenience ourselves, risk, environmental health, resources, economic, consultation and other. All these headings are very comprehensive and exceed 2 lines. But let me be clear, I'm not at all critical of the detail and requirements of Mr Fisher's letter. In fact, there are more adjectives than an Eden Blyton book. However, I am merely drawing attention to the facts. We as a Valley have a marvellous opportunity to defend our 12% Aboriginal community, the lost lives in those very hills, by stopping this development on their land. And action speaks louder than virtue signalling. We have an opportunity to show the country how far we have come from the famous 1967 referendum on Aboriginal voting. If you're unaware of what that was, please ask me after the meeting. We have also an opportunity to be the first group of people to actually do something about China's gradual financial ownership of Australian infrastructure. The actual pump project scope creeping and efficiency. This is being financed mostly by a Chinese-based company in Hong Kong. A spokesperson in our state representative's office had to be reminded that Hong Kong is not British and has been part of China for 24 years. Yes. The pump station produces net energy, which is a mixture of what it produces and what it needs to pump the water back up the mountain. That's crazy. It guarantees its own existence. This is unlike the Mount Beauty hydro scheme shown on the screen that I visited for research. The environmental look is as demonstrated on the screen. Ugly, not to mention the wires hanging gloomily over more Dungutty and Thuddy land that has to be cleared for fire safety. Crazy again. Employment is negligible after completion, and with the way employment is going, the project should fear a blowout in costs rather than anything else through inflation. Scope creep. The project management team have already changed the scope from a 600 megawatt output to 900 megawatt output and altered the access road. This happened within the last 3 weeks. As I understand scope, it is the framework that all participants operate under, like a map. What are the project team doing altering a scope without the authority from the government authority, without the permission? So what am I doing here? It has to begin somewhere, and I'm seeking the council to manage the moral side of this project. We have a perfect storm. This is where the absolute rush to reduce carbon emissions by green energy clashes with environmental, as in land environment, and clashes with our Indigenous heritage. It's an absolute conundrum of gigantic proportions. I've spoken with federal and state representatives. One looked like a kangaroo on some headlights and the other was bullish about how good it will be for us. Even a tourist attraction That's not in scope. Thank you. I don't throw myself in front of bulldozers, hug trees or wear funny masks or even stick my thumbs on busy highways. But I do have a large number of follows through digital media, of which 80% have reached the same opinion. A very clever lady, Faye Aspiotis.
Thank you, Mr. Haler. It's 5 minutes or 1 minute to go. That was 5 minutes. I'm sorry. I thought you would have got a 1 minute. No, 1
I didn't get a 1 minute. Can I go 1 more minute then?
Sorry.
It's up to me, and I think if you hadn't finished, for sure, we'll give you another minute.
Yeah,
thank you.
30 seconds. A very clever lady, Faye Aspiotis, also has my back. Faye wrote an article in an environmental publication dealing with concerns on the water being taken from the Macleay, and also mentioned that Arthur Bain supported the Thungutty in that it is land where Indigenous people were killed. Would it be possible for a council to take this under their arm? Just follow the scope, any news that affects the original scope in the first instance. A council that would be prepared to communicate to the broader community with updates. It would be great to have someone with passion about this, or an Indigenous council such as VJ. Unfortunately, I think Arthur may have a conflict of interest in this and really should not be involved with the broader community on it. If you would like to join me...
Haler?
Yeah.
I presume you noticed that Councillor Bain did declare conflict and he left the meeting.
Yeah.
So no use to re-emphasising that, but thank you.
Yeah, but I'm not talking to Mr. Bain. I'm talking to you.
You're saying he should declare an interest, and he did declare an interest. So could...
No. On my proposal... Sorry, can I answer you?
No, there's no questions at the moment. You just go finish up, please.
I forget where I was. It would be great to have someone with passion about this, or an Indigenous councillor. Unfortunately, I think Arthur may have a conflict of interest in this project, and really should be involved and should not be involved with the broader community because he's focusing on the Thungutty. If you'd like to join me on this journey, please make contact with me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Haler. Sorry to put you off what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'll now ask any councillors here with a question for Mr. Haler on his presentation.
Thanks heaps for your thoughts.
You would like to? So, Councillor Freeman, thank you.
Am I cool to go now? Awesome. Thanks heaps for your thoughts, mate.
Yeah.
Just on a comment that you made about it going from a 6 megawatt to a 9 megawatt,
Yeah.
Does that involve enlarging the water reservoirs, or is that just a new calculation on efficiency? Because it might actually just be an efficiency calculation, not an actual size difference.
Sorry, I wouldn't know how to answer that. My point on that was that they can change the scope. So we all go and going out to play rugby union, but we get out there and the other team's playing rugby league. The scope is very important to what we're doing. And the Crescent Head foreshore is a good example of that. If everyone knows what we're doing, what game we're playing, we can all play on the same page. And the fact that it's just been changed. Who knows about that? So that's my point about that. Thanks for the question.
Do we have any other questions? Councillor Patterson, please.
Thank you. Mr. Harrier, I've got two questions for you. First question is, why should we pay the price with our environment to try and play catch up on an unachievable race to make ourselves feel better that we are helping the environment?
Indeed. Why should we? I can't ask you your question.
That's a question.
Yeah.
Why should we?
Yeah, well, we shouldn't. We should. It was just we've got this perfect storm of where all this, this fuzzy stuff's happening out there, where we've got environment versus trying to reduce greenhouse emissions by rushing through renewable energy and heritage value. So we've got four competing, what some may say, lefty type agendas, But it doesn't matter where you sit in the political spectrum. It's just too many things coming together and just being rolled over with Chinese money. That's my opinion only.
And one more question, thank you, Mr. Hayyer. Another one. Do you think foreign ownership means foreign control of our assets?
Yeah, I might. This could go longer than a minute, so I'll sort of go slow, and then you might like to ask me another question again. But if I can go back, if you don't think that that foreign control happens from this, then you've got your head in the sand. Let me give you a local example of that. The Maria River Road. It was due to start work this next month, June, right, by the planning department, environmental planning department. Like at Christmas, it completed their studies. 3 weeks ago, it's been changed to next year, right? It's been changed to 2023. They can't, because they've still got to do more environmental controls. This, when I spoke to the local member's office, said this is all being rushed through. This is being pushed through because it's so important. Yet a road, the money is pushing this.
There's your minute, Mr. Harler. Thank you. Councillor Wyatt, you have a question?
Thanks. Yes, I do. I have a couple of questions. But my first question is, are you asking a councillor are you asking councillors to be an advocate to help you oppose Owen Mountain? Is that what you're asking us?
I don't know, because I don't do odd things. I think the government is the only way you can go through. And if they don't do what you want, you vote. Yeah, you just vote against them and all that sort of stuff. But I think this is a real local issue. It's up there in the mountains, and it might be in another electorate or whatever. But yes, to answer your question, yes, I am. I'm asking for one or all, because we have a real chance to put this valley on the map of being the first to say no to Chinese money, and we're going to help our brothers, because in 1967 we voted 20% for Aboriginal voting. The rest of the country voted 80% for it. We've got to clear our own throats too. So I would like to see us in this valley be the first to be known for pardon your Chinese money,
Thank you, Mr. Harler. Another question? Councillor Wyatt?
Can I ask a question of council?
After.
Oh, okay. All right. I actually agree with 90% of what you have said.
That'll be a first.
Yeah. Surprising that. Yeah, I do, because I have ethical problems with it as well. Not so much the foreign ownership one as well. And it's interesting. I read with listening to what you're saying.
We have a question, Councillor Wyatt, please.
No, I don't have a question.
Can you talk to me about that
Thank
later?
you.
No. As I say, thank you for that. But I don't have a question.
Yeah, Councillor Wyatt, we're asking questions here. Councillor Campbell, had your light on? Thank you.
I did, but I think it might have half been answered, but I'll ask it anyway. So from your presentation, what are you asking us to do with the recommendation that is before us? What is your suggestion?
My suggestion is that as councillors, with an election coming up, that it would be good to advocate and help us get to the next level of government to change this, because there's two levels of government above us that are stuffing this up. The state government is running the project and is allocating the money and giving the scope money, if you like. It's actually a grant, so we're giving the Chinese this money to go and do things. And the one above that is Josh Frydenberg's level, which is how much Chinese investment is there in Australia that is fair. Now, it may be fair across Australia, but in our valley, it's not fair. Sorry, it's not fair. It's knocked myself out with the microphone That's good. So I'm asking for an advocate in a high profile, and in this valley, a councillor has a high profile. So I'm asking for a councillor to represent all councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Haler. Councillor Haler. Thank you. Just one. Well, I think Councillor Patterson wants to ask you another question, and that'll be fine. You just made a statement, as I thought you should know.
Yeah.
Kempsey Shire Council area voted 67% in favour of the referendum. You seem to have got that number back.
Yeah, I thought you'd ask a question.
Thank you. So, Councillor Patterson, please.
Round numbers.
Question to you, Mr. Harlan. Macleay River, the lifeblood of the Macleay River, that towns have been settled on the Macleay River that provides life for the whole community, the marine life, the farming life, the leisure life, the heritage of the Macleay River. Is this something we should sell just for the sake of putting a storage battery in? Is this something we should put upriver from our lovely Macleay and put in by chance something that may in the future come back to bite us over and over and over again with pollution issues, etc.? Is this something that we should do?
We should stop it, and we should go to the highest place in the land to try and stop it, because first of all, it's Dungutty and Thungutty land. And they had a different name for the Macleay River, but it was something like Brown River or something simple. But there is danger of something going wrong up there and damaging the river. I mean, if you've been up to George's Junction, I can't think of a more beautiful place to go to than up there. It's just beautiful. And this bloody thing's going to be out the back behind that, So where are we going with it? It's the money is just running over the top of us. Not to mention that people say, well, this could get sold on or whatever, or if we got in a war with China, what good would that be? Well, they're not dumb either. They're going to put a redundancy factor into that, and that's going to be 10 years, 20 years, whatever it's going to be. And it'll either self-implode, need a great deal of repairing.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. It's your time. No other question? Councillor Wyatt, another question, thank you.
I do. You mentioned, what type of community consultation have you done, or how much have you done?
Mainly bullying.
Sorry?
Mainly bullying. The community consultation I've done is mainly bullying, but secondary has been with this Faye Aspiotis, actually, and there's no names being mentioned of who, it's just very passionate about it. And, that person is from this side, not that side. You know what I mean? And I think once that side starts agreeing with that side, wow, this is a good place to go. So it's been through my a magazine, or not a magazine, a tongue-in-cheek sort of thing that goes on Facebook, which I won't mention the name of because it's not advertising time. But the reaction I'm getting to is incredible through my email. Is just.
Thank you, Mr. Haler. Councillor Campbell, thank you.
With Mr. Haler, with this Chinese money, are you aware of the source of that? Is it Chinese government money, or is it money from a Hong Kong-based company? Good
question. It's from a Hong Kong-based company that are a family, but it's been in Hong Kong since day dot, right? So it's been through British democracy, and now it's part of the communist regime that run Hong Kong. So I don't think that the Chinese government are going to have a set of rules that says it's all right for you not to pay into the big fund of where I sit as the dictator, or you running off with that money and doing whatever you like with it. That money will go back into China and back into whatever they do in China. It can't just sit there. I mean, it's like if we had an Australian company in America, we're going to be paying tax and contributing to this nation. When it goes to China, it doesn't contribute to anything.
Thank you, Mr. Haler. Are there any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Haler, for your informative and thought-provoking presentation. We've certainly got some things to think about. Well, thank you for your attendance here today.
Okay, I really appreciate it, and I just hope somebody gets on board. Thanks.
The public forum is now over. Thank you very much, and we'll move on to our briefing next. Thank you, everyone.